Good morning, YouTuber subscribers and friends and alike. It's Grant Travels coming at you from the middle of nowhere desert. I'm north of Lordsburg, New Mexico. It's Saturday, March 21st, 2026. And I'm just making a video about what happened the other day while I go out and fix my mud flaps again. This is the back road stretch that you take from north of Lordsburg through Globe, Arizona, into Phoenix, and that way you can skip Tucson. That rock face right there, the other side of that rock face is Tucson. You have to take. So far, I managed to have both mud flaps still on. I've lost the zip ties though and had to re-put my own zip ties on. So far, so good. We've made it into Arizona. So here in a second, I'll show you my handy dandy rock my fixing tool. I'm using a rock because I'm supposed to be using a hammer or whatever. You know, you obviously got to hammer the mud flaps back in, but you can't take anything like a hammer or a power screwdriver or really long scissors or a pocket knife or any of that on the plane coming back unless you check the bag, and I don't want to pay the 50 bucks and have to, you know, check the bag and then hope it gets to its destination, all that stuff along with me. I'd rather just take less than a personal item, pretty much, in terms of the backpack that I have that fits underneath the seat, so I can get on the flights and fly first or last on, first off, because I do and don't really like flying, even though I do it every week. So that being said, I just pick up a rock I see, a pretty heavy, decent rock I see. I haven't done it yet, and then just use that like the hammerhead, whack that baby back on there. And as I'm doing so, I want to see if the mud flaps move too much. They have to move a little bit. I used to use the straps to strap this down and keep it in place, because that would be the logical thing to do. The problem is then you allow the edges of the board to really start vibrating like this, because that's the only thing that's allowed to take the energy when you strap the board tight to the frame. That's why the manufacturer has their zip ties on it, and that's it. And it looks really weird at first until you figure out the logic behind it, because now with zip ties it rides, but it's allowed to be loose, so the whole entire board kind of vibrates and takes the vibrations of the road out as it's going. But the problem is, occasionally they break a zip tie and you have to put your zip ties back on. And I have bungee cords in there too that I can use if I need to as emergency backup or something, if I run out of zip ties, if they all break before I'm able to replace it. Because there are sections of the road that you go 100 miles with nothing, no services and nothing. So I'm out here to fix that up. And then I just wanted to point out, we're looking at this right now, right? What on that right there says it's safe to run into? Makes somebody want to tailgate you. To me, that screams dangerous as hell. If this frame, this really, really deadly frame, because there's nothing but that axle for the first 4 feet, 5 feet there, nothing at all disturbing that. And if that back axle were to break off in the middle of a collision with someone that's tailgating me, yeah, that whole thing is going into your car one way or another. It's going to shove your engine compartment right into the cab of your car. Or it's going to go above your windshield altogether if the back axle climbs up, and then that thing is going right for you. But people continuously see a truck like this, and then, oh, they got to get up on your ass. Oh, they got to get around you because they can't stand the fact that these trucks are limited down to 70 or 60 or whatever. And if you're driving it right, you should be driving it like 60 so you don't break the board off and don't break or blow the mud flaps off of the board from the wind. If you drive this thing at 70, which you can get away with doing on occasion when there's not much wind, it'll just pull the staples out, and then you're going to lose your mud flap. So the best I've figured is 60, because if you drive the truck at 55 or below 55, one, traffic don't like you for one, but this truck starts to get mad at you for another. If you're driving 55 for more than an hour, it gets mad and says you need a break. It seems to think that because you're driving so slow, especially if you're driving in a 80 mile an hour zone or 70 mile an hour speed limit zone, that camera up front can read that, and it knows what speed limit on that highway it's supposed to be. And then if you're doing 55, it's like something's wrong with the driver. And so it kills the cruise and it kills the air conditioning or heater or whatever you need at the time and tries to force you to take a break at 55. So I have to keep it above 55. But if I go much above 65, 70-ish, I'm just going to rip the mud flaps off. So I found the sweet spot driving these to be about 61 to 63-ish, give or take. And then the truck doesn't bother you. And usually if there's not much wind, you can get away with keeping things on there, hopefully. But I just want to make a video the other day. Yesterday afternoon, I'm coming up just before El Paso. And I had a black Dodge Ram come up on me. Partially this was my fault. I was over in the passing lane. Let's pretend this is the interstate section going the same direction. I was over in the passing lane, which I shouldn't be, but the driving lane was all messed up. And then, like I say, I was doing 60 to try to not drive any faster and drive off my equipment, pretty much. So I ended up doing 60 in the passing lane, which, yeah, is my fault. But at the same time, if I got over to the driving lane, with the roads as messed up as they were, it's just going to ruin my equipment. The board's going to break, the zip ties are going to come off. You know, and then I get to deal with that, because then I have to run illegal the rest of my trip, pretty much. That, or you get the mud flaps, if you don't stop and get them in time, that are $100 a piece. So that's a $200 deal. And then the board is $27, and then your zip ties are $5 or $10 a shot, depending on how many you buy in a bag. So my only real choice is to get over in those nasty sections of the road and drive in the passing lane, which I didn't like doing. This black Dodge Ram, or Ram these days, Dodge sold out, so just Ram. He come flying up behind me, put his lights on. You could see from a mile and a half, that's what he was gonna do. Put his lights on, started honking, then he did this back up and then drive forward and back up and drive forward and back up and drive forward. Now keep in mind, the driving lane, which, yeah, is all messed up on this side, is all open at this point in time. But he wants to bully me over to it, even though, yeah, technically speaking, I'm the one that's supposed to get over. But I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see why I was not getting over. I mean, zip-tied board and all. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to see why I didn't want to drive in the bad section of the road. But some people only care about themselves. I let this go on 4 or 5 times, and by about the 5th time, I'm like, okay, dude, we've gone a whole, I was like almost a mile with him on my ass. So then I decided I just shut the cruise off and then let her coast down slower and slower and slower. This only pissed him off even worse. Gets right up on me now. Now he's not even doing the backing off thing anymore. The edge of his truck was about right here, give or take, maybe a foot behind me. So you know what? I just decided, okay, sometimes people have to learn what the difference is between their car and not my truck. I don't want to damage my equipment. It's my job and everything. But if push comes to shove, I don't have the house and kids and everything else in the world. I can lose this job if I have to. I don't want to, but if I have to teach some guy a lesson, here we go. So I hit the exhaust brake and I hit the pedal brake and I locked her up. Came to a complete stop. And this just did the whole pretend to be a fake deer or something, or rabbit or whatever, going across the road. Because legally, from a legal standpoint, he's not supposed to be a foot off my bumper. Yeah, I'm just as illegal. Yeah, I'm just as bad as he was. Yeah, I played into the road rage that he did. But some people need to learn a lesson, and I decided you don't want to get your pretty pickup all messed up on the screwed up lanes either. I'll make you have to do something or another. So there's a rubber the guardrail coming this way, me, and then the trashy lane here, and then behind here we have a semi crawling up this way. Whole entire time this semi's seeing this for like a mile and a half. I don't know if he's not paying attention or what, but I decided to teach him both a lesson. So next thing you know, I'm hitting the brakes like that. The dude is like, he has 3 choices. He can hit the guardrail, which won't do nothing because there's not enough room between the guardrail and the truck. Still gonna hit me. He can hit me as I'm stopping, or he can go right. And just as I figured, he was too busy paying attention to me to see semi coming this way. Semi truck coming up this way like so. Next thing you know, I'm looking in the mirror as this is happening, and the truck does a figure 8, like 3 figure 8s off into the road ditch as he pitted himself off that semi, because he didn't realize the back quarter of his truck is gonna be on that semi coming up. And I don't know. I sat there thinking about it all night long, and I don't know either that truck driver was not paying attention, or that truck driver was wanting to help me out, or that truck driver has it on dash cam and didn't care. I don't know what happened, but you know, I shouldn't have done what I did with putting the brakes on and yada yada. But he shouldn't have done what he did either, coming up there. And this wasn't like the first 5 seconds. This was good mile, 2 miles worth of him flashing the lights, honking the horn, coming up, going back, coming up, going back. And then when I slowed down first, without using the brakes or nothing, I just let off the cruise so that his radar and whatever in his truck would show him that I'm slowing down. Then he just got right up on me and stayed there. So, you know, some days I'm just like, you can just do what you... Some people, you know, just have to learn who... There's some people out there that are crazier than you are, so to speak, that don't have anything left to lose. I could lose this job if I had to over this whole deal. You know, because somebody else... Yeah, the dude could have killed himself. Yeah, the dude could have whatever. Yeah. End of the day, that was his fault for doing it to begin with. Anyhow, I survived the situation, obviously, with no scratches on the truck or nothing. So it is what it is. I'm just making this video to show you. I mean, to me, being a normal car driver, driving up behind this, say I've never done this before or whatever, I would hesitate coming clear up against that. Because for one thing, the rocks thrown at you at the windshield, I can already tell you know that it's just going to throw rocks at you left and right. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that, very least. And then, if the truck driver were to slam on his brakes for some reason up front, for a legitimate reason or other, why would you want to be right on that? Nothing good is going to come of that. That frame is going to go right into your engine. Your engine's going to come right into your cab. And that whole works. Or your car is going to end up in my cab. In either which way, that's a bad scenario. It'd be one thing if it had a box on it, or a service bed or something, like a bucket bed or whatever on top of it, so you had some kind of a metal to stop against. But 2 diddly truck frames, sides of the truck frame, I don't know. I don't get why people do that. But immediately, you know, I don't know, these 4-wheelers out here need to give, especially the semis, even bigger than this, a break. They have absolutely no idea what 80,000 pounds can do to someone, because they're just naive to it. They've never done it. This is why I say after your first 5-year or your 8-year renewal, depending on your state, some states are like 3 years, some are 5 years, some are 8 years. But when you first get your new driver's license, they should put you in a state-provided, fully loaded semi and teach you exactly what you're up against the trucks. Whether you want to get the CDL or not, make you take the CDL test and make you pass the whole entire CDL thing. Why? Because you have a whole new respect for these trucks once you feel the pressure of 80,000 pounds behind you. You realize how that rig is not going to stop on its own. And I'm just the box driver out here, you know, just doing the bobtail type of thing, you know, just with the cab by itself. And I'm restricted on speed by itself. I could have been doing 70. Like I just explained, I have to pretty much do 60. Higher than 55 to keep the truck happy. 60 to keep the mud flaps happy. And, you know, it's limited to 70. And some people are smart enough to realize that these box trucks and these trucks without a box on them are limited to 70, and then they get mad about it. And the combination of those, I think that guy was smart enough to realize that, and the fact that he didn't want to put his pretty pickup over that very damaged roadway, which I didn't want to do, but I'm doing it for a different reason. You know, I care about the truck, don't get me wrong, but didn't want to break the board. Trying to work. And I look back at that and I do not know why that semi, he was either asleep at the wheel or didn't care or wanted a piece of the action or something, I don't know. But he was crawling up the whole entire time this was happening, just coming right up on the driving lane. Watching all this happen with the truck and the pickup doing this, and he's just like you don't see what's gonna happen next. You just expect me to put up with the guy for 4 miles, you know, doing that. Which I mean, I could have just, yeah, whatever, dude, slow down, whatever. The way he was going about it though, with the honking and the lights and everything else, like he owned the road, you know. my temper, or not temper, my ego got the best of me on that one, and I had to teach him that he's not the only one on the road, and he got taught a lesson. Survived it. We were only doing, I was only doing 60, so he was only maybe doing 55-ish when he pitted himself against the semi and did his figure eights into the ditch. Semi slowed down, and the funny thing about it was the semi just casually slowed down and went to the side of the shoulder like it happens every single day. Like it ain't his first time. Oh, jeez. I don't even think the truck driver cared. I don't know if he was... I don't know. To be driving that, you know, that's the other thing, is to be driving a loaded semi like that, even if it's empty. You drive so long you just don't care anymore or something. I feel bad for the truck driver. You know, I wish it was just me and the pickup, because that was the only two that needed to be involved in that whole deal. And then I would have forced him to take the best up driving lane to get around me, or to stay behind me. That was his choices. But then you got the semi coming up behind you, and I'm just like, well, I'll stop and see what he does. Give him no option then if he's going to be riding my ass. This is after 2 miles, the 1 or 2 miles. This wasn't 5 seconds in. This was 4 or 5 times of him driving up, flashing his lights and honking the horn and trying to rev it up and tell me to get over is what he was trying to do. But he had that lane open. He could have got over any time and went and did it himself. But nope, chose not to. And then he was so tunnel visioned on me that when I did stop, he just swerved to miss me, because that's his only option. And either he was not paying attention at all, or he had no idea that truck was coming, because he was so fixated on this. I mean, I'm glad he survived. I'm glad it was slow and everything like that, you know, that the whole interaction was slow enough and whatnot that it just, you know, it probably screwed up his pickup pretty good, but he survived it, didn't flip it. But jeez, I don't know what people are thinking these days. Anyhow, that's my latest video, latest thing that happened. The more and more I do this, the more I want to go back to running RVs and dealing with that kind of stuff rather than this, I guess. Maybe I'm just had a long winter of doing this and tired of that already. I don't know. But there was no excuse for that the other day. Yeah, I was over in the passing lane. Yeah, I was doing 60 mile an hour. I think it was like about 80 mile an hour the speed limit at the time. I don't remember. That don't really bother me much, because I'm going way under it anyway. Either which way, but to somebody else it would probably bother them. But even if it wasn't the case, you're just a normal person on vacation or whatever, driving up against this, why would you want to get right up on it? If that guy has to stop for any reason, that can kill you right there. Or majorly injure you. At the very least, it will take your car out altogether. There ain't going to be a radiator in your car left after you hit that. But people still do it. People still routinely get right on you. And it's all day, every day. They see me, they come right up on me. And routinely, this thing throws rocks by itself, mud flaps or not. I see a car come up here to right behind it for a mile, 2 miles, whatever, as we're going through like Phoenix or wherever. And then all of a sudden I see them back off big time. And you know why that is? It's because they got a rock. Something went ding on their hood or ding on their windshield, and they went, oh, maybe I shouldn't be back there. Pay attention to your surroundings, people. And yeah, as I took part in the road rage the other day, I really can't say much, but don't play the diddly road rage games that I played. You know, it's really, really, really hard to resist wanting to do something like that. And for a very, very long time I have, and my first go-to is always just to shut the cruise off and not give them no brakes or nothing. And if they hit me with no brakes or nothing, then I didn't even slow down or stop, according to the truck, according to their camera, according to whatever. Then I'm totally lawful. I just coasting at that point. And that's what I usually do when somebody gets too close to me, which I tried with him. But as soon as I did that, then he's got to match me at coasting and slowing down and getting really mad and honking. Just back off, people, or pass in the other lane. It's not that bad. And then that truck suspension, that pickup suspension would have handled that so-called bad road like nothing. And this truck suspension ain't that bad, but it shakes either way, and it shakes enough to break that board off, which is why I wasn't in that driving lane. But it's not bad enough to ruin your truck, your pickup or whatever. It's not bad enough to ruin this truck's suspension. It's just that board and those zip ties and everything. Trying my best to get all the way across country, making that wishy-washy stuff work. And people don't realize that's the job. That's what I'm doing as a job. I'm not going to get over into that crappy road lane until they fix the roads. I don't have an option but to get over into the passing lane. Can't take the regular driving lane. It's so messed up. There's the vibrating at the back of the thing, especially a shorter one, because I don't know if you saw in this one or not, but this is a much shorter truck than that I take all the time for Ehrenberg, because this one's going to Paris, California. I got a little bit longer to run. But the shorter the truck, the more the whole thing vibrates, because it's not spread over a length, I guess. But anyway, this is today's video. I just wanted to explain to you what all happened the other day. Like and subscribe, leave comments. I'll catch you in a flip. Peace.